Hello and welcome everyone to another one of my Blacklist reviews. So it's been 3 weeks since I've done one of these. I just wanted to find out how the whole Isabella Stone arc plays out, and it seems it has played out pretty well, and once more we can say that the show went out with a bang as the events of its winter finale unfolded. I was basically getting ready to review the Isabella Stone episode 2 weeks ago before I ended up realizing it was a bigger arc than it seemed, with an unknown enemy, which made all the difference in my decision not to review the episode at the time. I did not want to repeat myself, presenting you with the obvious choices, not having anything to add than in my previous videos. And what would the obvious choices be here? We've got the Cabal, as we know they will probably make a comeback sometime this year, be it on the 4th season or on the 5th season if the show does get renewed for one. We've also got Katarina Rostova, whom a lot of us are waiting to see make a comeback in present-day events, as the producers seem to have teased, unless most of us misunderstood them. It's just gonna be one more flashback with the amazing Lot Verbeek. And finally, we have Kate, aka Mr. Kaplan, who managed to vanish into thin air since the last time we saw her after her captor, who nursed her to health, let her go willingly and wasn't really as harmful as he seemed to be at first. Of course, by the end of last week's episode, we were all shocked as we watched David Levine informing Red he's been colossally compromised, as he found out the account he used to pay for screwing him over happens to be one of Red's very own accounts. And even though there is a multitude of possibilities here when it comes to who did that to Raymond, Kaplan seemed to be the only name to pop in my head right away. I'm sure the case was the same with some, if not actually a lot of you. With that being said, this is going to be my review and top moments analysis of the 15th episode of the 4th season of the Blacklist, which was otherwise titled The Apothecary. At the end of this video, I'll also be doing a rundown on my expectations for the return of the show and my speculations on how it might all play out when the show comes back from its break, as well as my thoughts on the possibility or lack thereof of the show scoring a 5th season renewal. So here we go.
9.
Before I dig deep into the events of the 15th episode, there are a couple of things that I would like to take note of when it comes to the previous 2 episodes on the show. These episodes might have significantly lacked on the usual pace of the Blacklist events, but it's only because the show was setting up for Tom's move, shall I call it, partial move to the Blacklist Redemption. Now, the Blacklist Redemption aired its premiere last night, but I'll be getting back to you with a review of that episode later on. Now, I kinda liked the build-up towards the premiere of the spin-off, a bit flawed there for reasons I'll mention in my review of Redemption, but nonetheless interesting. There's also the fact that we got to meet Elise again, whom I kinda liked. I mean, she went from 0 to 100 in no time early on this season, as she played both the role of the loving, smitten girlfriend so well before she went all criminal bitch the moment she realized Aram was onto her. Among a whole bunch of things worth taking note of on the past couple of episodes as well, happens to be Samar's seeming jealousy of Elise, didn't even know she was capable of that, and of course, Aram shooting that rocket towards the architect's car. That was so badass for Aram.
8.
The Blacklist seems to be attempting to do all it could to get a renewal with this winter finale. It starts off with a conversation between Red and Dembe, and less than a minute in, jumps to the events going down 9 hours past this conversation. And what's going on 9 hours later? Raymond has been poisoned, and his symptoms are progressing quickly. He's practically dying, and seems to be given 1 to 2 days to live, give or take. Let's be honest here, we didn't expect Reddington to stick to his bed and go down like any other man in this situation. Not that we thought he would die anyway. He gets up, calls Lizzie, asks her to get the task force together, gets to their base of operations, informs them he's dying, that Dembe is missing, and asks them to solve his murder.
7.
So our Red has the task force looking for the Apothecary, the mysterious blacklister whose services have been rendered towards the end of poisoning him. He goes on the search for Dembe. At the hopes of the team finding the Apothecary and saving his life, he would rather spend the time he has left saving Dembe's. And once more, Raymond's care for Dembe amazes me. There's this thing about the friendship between Dembe and Red that always comes in handy on the show's finales, and especially this season. The full finale of the season had Raymond ask him for forgiveness for what he did to Kate, then had Dembe rescue Red from the hands of Kirk. Then last night it was Red looking to save him, save the man whose character always felt more like a best friend to Raymond than some subordinate or employee.
6.
It's not a good episode of The Blacklist if Red does not tell one of his stories. And I was wondering if he was gonna do that on the finale, up until the point where he went back to the restaurant and was reminded of the events of the dinner the night before, where he presented us with the ultimate Reddington combo, a speech and a story. On that very same scene, Red also finds the bottle of wine allegedly used to poison him. He ends up calling Elizabeth to tell her about it, and we finally get to see a hint of emotion on her face on the episode, and surprisingly enough, this emotion seems to hint at how much she cares for Red, even if she doesn't seem to show it that often. As he's being treated and the antidote is being administered to him, she's standing right there, looking like a daughter worried about her father. It is right there in front of our eyes, like a hint that all we were made to believe on the fall finale was actually true.
5.
Now close to the end of the winter finale, Reddington seems to be getting better when it comes to his health, but he ends up in for a shock that might get him wishing he died to the poison before he found out the truth. If that were to be the truth, of course. A couple of familiar faces also show up on Red's journey to finding Dembe and the man behind his poisoning, Glenn and Marvin, two of my favorite recurring guest stars on the show so far. And while Red is under the impression that Marvin is behind it all, it seems he's wrong this time around.
4.
On the final scene of the episode, Red realizes that the one person who might have been behind it all is the only person who had access to the one drink Red had with a higher alcohol content, and the key seemed to be all in the very first scene of the episode, the one that seemed to be nothing but a moment between Red and his most trusted man, Dembe. It was the scotch that Red seems to believe only two people had access to, Dembe and himself. And the final words of Red in the episode were, "No, it can be. It can't be." And I kinda totally agree. It is true that Dembe seems to be on the run on the very last scene of the winter finale, but is he really? And did he really poison Red? And is the show getting their fans to choose between Red and Dembe?
3.
It's not the first time the show did seemingly put us in a Sophie's Choice kind of situation with a character we happen to love on the show. They did it before with Mr. Kaplan, and a lot of fans were unhappy with the twist back then, some even to the extent they wished they would have killed off Liz instead of her. I mean, after all, a lot of people find Megan Boone's acting sort of emotionless at times. But then again, while Kate is a beloved character, she was never a series regular, making it hard for her to become party to a choice of the sort between our liking to her and our liking to Red. We did like Red's character more. But now with Dembe, it is kind of tough to believe and process that the show would actually present us with such choice. For the fans, Red and Dembe are inseparable. After all, they don't have this usual employee-employer relationship, but rather one that is based more on a friendship, on a sense of familial duty towards one another.
2.
The million-dollar question, though, here happens to be, if this twist is all fake and Dembe didn't do it, why does he seem to be on the run? First, I'm not claiming the chances he might have done it are non-existent. There's a chance he might have actually done it. A very minor one in my opinion, but nonetheless, the chance does exist. It is hard to believe though he took his sweet time to do so, when he could have done it a while back, especially when he was the angriest for what happened to Kate. Besides, why would he go through the exhausting job of having to save Red and rescue him from Kirk on the full finale when he could have let him die then? Dembe might be angry at Red for the murder of Kate, but nonetheless he has always been extremely loyal to him, and while a lot might believe Dembe has done a lot for Red, we know that Red has done a lot for him as well over the years. But to answer my first question here, I need to extend it a bit further. Why would Dembe seem to be on the run at the end of the finale when he actually happens to be the one who drove a poisoned Red to the doctor, which kind of negates he tried to kill him? There are two possibilities here. Dembe felt guilty once the symptoms of Red's poisoning started showing and remembered what the man means to him. That, or he realized down the road he's being framed for the possible murder of Red and decided to go on the run until he can clear his name.
1.
Now, with regards to the possibility of the show's renewal, the signs are neither good nor bad. The rating and the viewership have both significantly dropped this season, putting the show at the risk of cancellation. But all hope is not lost, as so far the show is more of a toss-up between renewal and cancellation. For me, however, there are other signs as well that might indicate the show is building up towards the possibility of ending its run after the season, including that Red is not just making himself the usual enemies, but rather starting to make enemies of others as well. More like turning allies into enemies is what it is. He's already done that with Kate and seems to be steadily getting there with Cooper. And now we have Dembe, which makes me wonder, is the show preparing for a possible ending where Red just loses everyone and everything, maybe even his own life in the process? I'm not really sure. I'm still hoping for a 5th season, even though the chances a renewal happens are getting lower and lower with every passing episode. But if it isn't happening, I hope it's made clear early on, so we could just get a satisfying ending. A bad ending would probably ruin the show's good run so far, and that is something I'm sure would anger a lot of fans. Now as for the current break of the show, I'm not sure when the show will be returning. We have no air date currently set for the 16th episode, and we have no promo to tell us anything about it. But once we get one, I'll probably come back to you with a video if there is much to fashion out of such promo. However, there are like 4 arcs that I'm sure 2 of which at least will be handled over the remaining episodes of the season. There's Dembe, Kaplan, Katarina, and the Cabal. But with that being said, let me know in the comments what you thought of the Blacklist's winter finale and how you think it will all play when the show comes back from its break. And remember, it would be appreciated if you drop me a like if you like this video, and if you subscribe if you want to see more reviews and videos on What the Geek. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.